understand social justice. Yeah, I got 3 minutes.
You have some time.
No, it's 3 o'clock. These guys have things to do, like go to sleep. Social justice and activism. The thing is, we can make a fetish out of a word like social justice. We can make it too lofty and sound too foreign to your ears or to your parents' ears or something like that. So I'm going to bring it down just a notch and say this. In a democracy, even a flawed and partial and failed democracy, in a democracy, we take as an article of faith that every human being is of incalculable value. Write that down. Every human being is of incalculable value. Look at our Constitution, look at the Bill of Rights, look at all these things, look at the Declaration of Independence. We are all created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. We're equal, right? So in a democracy, schools would be geared towards developing citizens who are equal to one another. So that has huge implications for policy, right? Because if we have one school that's dedicated to, or that functions on $40,000 per kid per year, and another that has $4,000 per kid per year, that's an assault on my sense of democracy, right? Isn't it? So at a policy level, we fight to change that. But this has implications for curriculum as well. Because if we take as an article of faith that every human being is of incalculable value, that means that the fullest development of all of us is the condition for the full development of any of us. And to say it a different way, but to say the same thing, the fullest development of any of us is the condition for the full development of all of us. I want us all to develop. I know that, I mean, now that I'm old, you know, I want you guys to take care of me. I want you to teach my grandchildren. I want you to, you know, so I want you to fully develop. I want you to be great. And that's what a democracy asks. So from a policy point of view, it means if we stratify schools along class or racial lines, that's an assault on democracy. But it has curriculum implications as well. And here's the big curriculum implication. In curriculum, in any society, let's just take some historical examples. I'll do this in 1 minute. In Nazi Germany, in medieval Saudi Arabia, in apartheid South Africa, and in the United States today, all educators want their kids to do their homework, show up on time, write their papers, learn the subject matters, and stay away from drugs and don't get pregnant, right? They wanted that in Nazi Germany, they wanted it in medieval Saudi Arabia, they want it here. So what makes us different? And here's the difference. In any authoritarian or autocratic society, what we teach, along with the music, the math, the science, the literature, we teach obedience and conformity. Obedience and conformity. Whatever else we teach you to shut up and get in line. And in a kingdom, we teach fealty. And in a society dominated by one religion, we teach piety. That's what we teach. Whatever else we teach, that's the lesson. In a democracy, whatever else we teach, we should be teaching initiative, courage, imagination, entrepreneurship, the development of a mind of your own, which can only be developed in society. It can only be developed with others. It's a paradox, but it's true. You can't develop a mind of your own sitting in a hermit like in a cave. You can only develop a mind of your own in an open conversation like this. But that's what we want in democracy, and that is social justice in my mind. It means, of course, justice, social justice means equity and access. But more important than that even, or the unsung part, or the part we don't talk about as much, we also need to teach respect for oneself, respect for others, a sense of oneself as existing as a unique being within a common polity. That's what it means to teach for social justice. And the curriculum implications are overlooked again and again. We say, yes, we want girls to be equal. Yes, we want black kids to be equal. Yes, we want kids who've suffered, historical discriminations to be equal. That's all good. But if you don't also teach people to develop a mind of their own through initiative, courage, imagination, creativity, then you're leaving them on the doorstep. And I'll talk about that in a minute when I get to your question. I don't want compliant kids. I don't want you all to be compliant. In fact, I think you're way too compliant already. I think you're too obedient and you conform too much. Not just you, me, all of us. The worst thing in the world is to have your neighbor frowning at you. So we all go along with stuff we don't agree with because we don't want to be, misunderstood. There's nothing worse than having your neighbors think you're a bad person. So who wants to stand up and stick out from the crowd? You're at a party and you really want to say something like, I think we should abolish the prisons. That's the kind of shit I say all the time. Like, really? What's wrong with you? I mean, how about, John Wayne Gacy? Okay, I could get into that. But the point is, I think we're too compliant. And that takes me, but the question of motivation, the question of getting them to want to learn and his thing of motivation. Here's the thing, think about yourself, including me. You're still a work in progress, right? So in that sense, you don't want to write your epitaph quite yet, correct? You're a work in progress. You have things to do, right? This is going to shock you. She's a work in progress, she's a work in progress, he's a work in progress. I'm 68, I'm a work in progress. I know that shocks you, but I'm not finished. I actually have things to do. I have things I want to do tomorrow and so on. Every human being is like that. We all have things to do. So, but here's what I want you to think about. I want you to think back of ways, or even think about yourself now, but think about yourself as a kid. You don't need to be motivated to learn. You actually just sprang into the world wanting to learn. Who taught you how to speak? They didn't break it down for you and give you lesson plans and I don't want you to say anything but, first I want you to say consonants. Don't say anything but consonants, just the. Nobody said that to you. You learned to speak holistically because you lived in this world. And that's very much what, and how about learning to walk? Were you told, no, you can't, you must walk like this, and this is how you walk, this is, you put your foot like this, or how about this? You know how to ride a bicycle, right? Some of you know how to ride a bicycle? So if you're riding a bicycle and you start to tip to the right, which way do you turn the wheel? Which way? Quick. Wrong. If you turn to the left, you'll fall right on your ass. You turn it to the right. And you know that, but you have a hard time describing it. And the reason you have a hard time describing it is because when you're riding a bike, you're sitting in the midst of a gyroscope. And the gyroscope is moving forward. You science people know that. And the gyroscope is going like this. And that means that when you're tipping this way, you have to turn this way to right the gyroscope. Never mind, it doesn't matter. The point I'm making is that you know a lot and you're motivated to know a lot. And even today, you're motivated to know things that nobody's teaching you. You're motivated to know them because they're part of your life. So to me, the big question is, can we create the conditions where kids can put their hands on things, draw on their own real world experiences? And I'll give you a couple things that you might want to look at and wonder about. Most of them not in school, but I'll give you one school example. Have you seen the film yet, Louder Than a Bomb? Yeah. You've seen it? You have. You should get that film up here. It's called Louder Than a Bomb, and it's the 10th anniversary of the Teen Poetry Slam. And here are kids who are writing unbelievable poetry. And they're not being motivated by grades and tests and punishment and that kind of thing. They're being motivated because they want to express themselves. In fact, write this down. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I wanted to see if you would reach for your bag. Way too compliant. Okay, don't write this down. I think every classroom, even your math high school classroom, even your second grade classroom, every classroom worth its salt in some way or another says to kids, welcome, tell your story. Yes. Tell your story. And then we'll figure out how is it like or unlike other stories. So how is it like or unlike other stories? That I think is something that you should think about in every classroom. How do you get kids to tell their story? So Malik, when he teaches ESL, English as Second Language, or ELL, I've seen him do this many times, has 20 language groups in his group class, and he'll say to them, okay, I want you to, he'll have 1 million of these in his head. A story starter. He says, write for 10 minutes about this. People always ask me. People always ask me, start writing. So he gets them writing. And then he has a few of them share. First kid says, first kid is a real big, kind of fat kid, says, People always ask me, how'd you get those abs? How'd you get those pecs? He's joking, you know, and everybody laughs. Next kid, my mom always asks me, how do you say that in English? How do you say that in English? I say to her, Mom, learn English. What's wrong with you, you know? And next kid says, people always ask me, how are you? Which used to be terrific until I got cancer. And now it's a very hard question. So suddenly, tell your story. Let me hear your story. What is your story? And how is it like or unlike other stories? Every class can find a way to do that. Every class. And that is motivation. And that is moving down. And these kind of things, if you think about it, almost anything you could name as a beginning of a classroom can eddy out and take in all the subjects and all the disciplines if you follow it deeply enough and strongly enough. But kids are not motivated so much by a grade or a test score as they are by a performance or a project that they can invest in. So I would be thinking, like, even in your own high school careers, you probably felt more strongly when you had to perform in front of an audience than when you had to perform for the teacher's grade book. You know what I'm saying? So think about ways that that can happen, and I've written a lot about that kind of stuff. Teacher communicating, this is what it means to be an educated person. So second grade teacher, very cool opening gesture with kids is to, you know, in the first week, you're going to have free reading time for part of the day, and you're going to interview each kid. And you're going to interview them about two things. One is, you're going to interview them about reading. And second, you're going to interview them about what they think second grade is for. So you say to a kid, you bring a kid up and say, you know, so I'm just taking notes, and you have a little format that you're putting, and you say, who do you know who's a great reader? And one kid says, my older brother. Another kid says, my uncle. Oh, really? What does your uncle read? He reads the racing form. Okay, now you know something about this kid and what this kid thinks is great reading, right? And then you say, well, what do you think we should do this year in the second grade? What's second grade going to be like? And they say, well, my mom says I'm going to become a better reader this year. Now you know something about this girl, right? And another kid says, Mom says I'm going to make new friends. Now you know something about this girl. So the point is that everybody tells their story in one way or the other, and you communicate back to them what it means to be an educated second grader or an educated high schooler or whatever. See what I'm saying? And Rick did a thing every year for years that you can find online called the Berkeley Slang Dictionary. And what he started with was him saying to a group of kids, and I can say it to you guys, you design a standardized test that every one of you would get right, multiple choice, verbal, standardized test. Design a test that every one of you would get right and all your instructors would fail at, and I would fail. You could do it, right? Because you know, like the one I remember from my brother's slang dictionary, like for example, onion, A, an herb that grows in the ground, B, blah, 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 C, D, a bag of drugs. I didn't know it was a bag of drugs. How would I know that? You know, I mean, to me, it's an herb that grows in the ground, right? So he did this, here's how he started, and then he developed this very sophisticated thing called the slang dictionary. It became part of the English curriculum for about 10 years at Berkeley. The reason it could keep doing it every year is because slang changes. Isn't that true? Yeah. Like if something that was cool last year, like, cool isn't cool, but something that was cool last year is not cool anymore. As soon as I learned to say, man, that is the bomb, it was no longer the bomb. You know what I'm saying? So I'm an immigrant in that world. I'm just a trespasser. But you guys know the youth culture. I have horrible news for you, by the way. You're aging out of the youth culture, and you're about to leave. You know, it moves so fast. You go back to high school after you've been here for 4 years, they're all going to be so much hipper than you. It's going to be scary.